Saturday, November 25th, 2023 brought us the 37th annual WWE Survivor Series. 17,000 WWE fans packed inside the Allstate Arena outside of Chicago. The night promised to be one filled with action and shocking surprises. 2023 marked the second year of Survivor Series Wargames, a match type which involves a giant steel cage surrounding two rings in which two teams face off for dominance inside. The night kicked off with the Women's Wargames match, which featured a chaotic war between the face team of Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, and Shotzi against the heel team comprised of Bayley, Asuka, Kairi Sane, and Io Sky. Bayley and Becky Lynch started off the match. It had a ton of heat early on, with fans chanting "We want tables." Shotzi was next to hit the ring, as she brought in every weapon except a table. Bayley would be forced to face off against both Becky and Shotzi alone, giving it her all for her team throughout the match, a risk which would ultimately cost Damage Control. The Women's WWE Champion Io Sky was the next woman to enter the match, marking her 5th War Games ever. Io immediately evened the odds, hitting springboard dropkicks on both Lynch and Shotzi. The advantage would swing back as Bianca Belair entered the match. Equipped with double hair braids for this match, she quickly made use of her iconic hair, using the braids like bullwhips, lashing the women of Damage Control throughout the match. Momentum continued to swing every time a new entrant joined the match. Recent addition to Damage Control, the high-flying electric Kairi Sane would come to aid her team with her impressive elbow drop. Charlotte would be the last member of her team to join the fray. This was her first ever War Games, as she unleashed a barrage of chops, and perhaps the highlight of the match, the genius of the Sky, Io Sky, was able to make great use of a chain brought into the cage, dropping said chain to Dakota Kai from the top of the cage, where Kai hooked the chain to the trash can, allowing Io to raise the trash can up to herself. With the can acquired, the WWE Women's Champion put the can over her head and dove onto the woman below in a very entertaining spot. Seconds later, the final member of Team Damage Control joined. Asuka would enter the match, officially starting the War Games. With the Empress of Tomorrow, she brought kendo sticks, a fire extinguisher, and a table, much to the chagrin of the crowd. The rest of the match would be hard-hitting with some quality high spots and nasty bumps to really escalate the stakes, such as Lynch getting drop-kicked while inside of a trash can, an epic moonsault from Charlotte, and Belair making Asuka regret bringing in the fire extinguisher. The final act of the match would see a flurry of near falls from both teams. Bayley would repeatedly save her team, breaking up pins and even saving Kairi from a spear. However, her sacrifices would be in vain, as she was hit with a series of big moves, culminating in Lynch hitting a manhandle slam from the second rope through a table, securing the win for the babyfaces. The 4 victorious women were able to overcome their egos in tumultuous history, finishing their night celebrating atop the cage. But for Damage Control, the honeymoon phase seems to be over, and changes are on the horizon. And it looks as if Bayley, despite her gutsy performance, may have to pay the price for her team's failure in War Games. The second match of the night saw perhaps the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, the Ring General Gunther, face off against another great 8-time Intercontinental Champion, The Miz, for the WWE's Workman's title, the Intercontinental Championship. It was clear early on that Gunther, in his hubris, had underestimated the scrappy veteran, as The Miz immediately took the fight to Gunther, attacking him with vicious chops and strikes. The Miz even managed to outsmart the champion, baiting him into a figure 4 lock around the ring post. Gunther, though, was able to quickly regain command of the match, laying in some trademark chops of his own and a German suplex to halt The Miz's early momentum. The Miz's toughness was on display throughout the match, enduring the power of the Austrian. Later in the match, The Miz managed to yank off the pad of the turnbuckle, using that as a distraction for the ref to set up 2 low blows to the champion, allowing for a skull-crushing finale that only managed to get a 2 count. However, the Miz's comeback was short-lived, as Gunther came roaring back, hitting a top rope splash onto Miz's back, and then locking him into a half Boston Crab, and driving his knee into the back, forcing the Grand Slam winner into submission. The crowd was behind the Miz throughout the match, but Gunther neutralized their hope to continue his 500-day-plus reign. It's truly a mystery at this point who can stop the Ring General. The second singles match of the night would see Santos Escobar riding a wave of momentum following his heel turn betrayal of Hall of Famer Rey Mysterio, take on the rising lucha star Dragon Lee a last-minute replacement for Carlito, who was taken out the previous night on SmackDown. Despite this match having the least build and hype of the matches on the card, the two men still managed to deliver a high-paced, exciting, and hard-fought match that highlighted the skills of both up-and-coming superstars. At one point, Lee looked to have Escobar beaten with a sit-out powerbomb, but Escobar kicked out, and moments later delivered a Phantom Driver for the win. The match really delivered, even in the short amount of time they were allotted. It's clear that WWE has two future stars on their hands. The final singles match of the night was for the Women's World Championship. As a seemingly unstoppable champion, Rhea Ripley took on the feisty Zoe Stark. Despite her status as a heel, Mommy chants filled the arena during Rhea's entrance, and throughout the match, it remains clear that she is the hottest female wrestler in the world, both literally and figuratively, and she knows it. However, Stark is no pushover, and a brawl almost immediately broke out between the two women after Stark slapped the champion. Zoe gave the Eradicator everything she could handle in the early goings of the match, hitting Rhea with a dropkick and matching Rhea's physical intensity throughout the match. Nevertheless, there was very little doubt that Mommy would come out on top in the end. The finish saw Ripley counter the Z360 before delivering a headbutt and hit the Riptide for the pinfall. A predictable outcome that leaves the question of who, if anyone, can put a satisfying end to Rhea's utterly dominant reign. Finally, to close out the night, we had our main event, the Men's Wargames match, which saw Team Judgment Day, with the addition of Drew McIntyre, square off against the babyface team of Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and Seth Rollins, and supposedly the returning Randy Orton. Throughout the night, it was said that Orton hadn't arrived in the arena, with the Judgment Day celebrating that they might be short a man, and Zayn insisting to his teammates that Orton would show up when it mattered most. The match started with the World Heavyweight Champion Seth frickin' Rollins facing off with an old nemesis, Finn Balor. Rollins, knowing he would be at a disadvantage once the next member, JD McDonough, entered, fired off rapid offense, slamming Balor into the cage wall several times. Balor was quick to return the favor, sending Rollins into the cage and hitting him with a huge back body drop onto the exposed steel in the center of the ring, targeting his supposed injured back. Judgment Day's newest cannon fodder-esque member, JD McDonough, was next to enter the match, with a couple of kendo sticks to boot. The two Irishmen quickly made use of their new wooden weapons, targeting the back of Rollins once again. However, help was on the way, as main event Jey Uso joined the match to aid the world champion. McIntyre, who swore to unleash hell on the former Bloodline member, watched on eagerly wanting to get into the ring. But when it came time, Damian Priest stopped him from entering the match, and went forward himself, visibly upsetting the bloodthirsty Scottish warrior. Once in the ring, Priest quickly took control for the Judgment Day, brandishing a baton and viciously attacking both Uso and Rollins. With the Judgment Day firmly in control, Sami Zayn made his entrance, to a huge pop and chants of "Usi" as he hit JD McDonough with a kendo stick and rammed the cage door into Finn Balor's head, as well as introducing a table to the match. Finally, it was time for Drew McIntyre to make his entrance. Making a beeline for his bitter enemy, Jey Uso, McIntyre brutally mauled Uso and berated him for costing him the title at Clash at the Castle. Jey managed to survive the onslaught, hitting McIntyre with the superkick, and with the help of Sami Zayn, hit McIntyre with a 1D. Cody Rhodes was then introduced to the match, where he and Rollins made use of a bullwhip, clotheslining members of the Judgment Day. With all present members of the face team in the ring and no sign of Orton, and Dirty Dom about to enter for the Judgment Day, the tension was rising as Rollins yelled at Rhodes, asking if the Viper was really going to show up. To a chorus of boos, the despicable, dirty Dominic Mysterio entered the match, attacking the down members of the opposing team. Soon, with the numbers advantage, Judgment Day took over the match. Priest and McIntyre chokeslammed Rhodes, Zayn, and Rollins before McDonough hit Zayn with a moonsault. Priest then put Rollins to a table with a razor's edge. All hope seemed lost for the faces as the 10-second cut down for their fifth member hit zero, and nothing happened. As Rhea Ripley's music hit and she ran out to the ring with the Money in the Bank briefcase in hand, ready for Priest to cash in on the World Heavyweight Champion. But then, suddenly, the iconic Voices theme hit, and enter the legend killer, the Viper, Randy Orton, who stormed his way to the ring amid a roaring crowd. Orton entered the cage and slammed the doors shut. The War Games had officially begun. Orton ran through Mysterio and McDonough before dropping Balor with a hanging DDT. Moments later, Orton led his team in all hitting hanging DDTs on the heel team. A slight moment of tension between Orton and Jay occurred, who sidelined him a year and a half ago before Orton hit Dom with an RKO, sending off a series of big moves at the expense of the Judgment Day. The only one left standing was JD McDonough, who attempted to escape the cage, but was trapped at the top of the cage by Sami and Rollins, who looked down at Orton. Orton, ready to strike, prepared for the attack. And they launched JD McDonough from the top of the cage, straight into an RKO. Rhodes quickly dropped Priest with a crossroads, and that was that. 1, 2, 3. Judgment Day had been defeated in Wargames. The 5 victorious men stood triumphant in the center of the ring. The copyright logo appeared on the screen, and it seemed the night was over. But then, the unthinkable happened. Living Color's cult of personality rang through the arena, and perhaps the most controversial, polarizing man in wrestling history, CM Punk, the Second City Saint, walked out in front of his raucous hometown crowd and back into the WWE for the first time in 10 years. So that was that. Survivor Series Wargames 2023 in the books. Thought I'd do a little different format for this one. I'm enjoying doing the narrative styles. Sorry for the delay. Been a little under the weather, traveling a lot. So we're about a week late, a little under a week, but really enjoyed the show. I thought match of the night for me was the men's Wargames match. I really liked the women's match, but I was just popping out of my seat, flying around during the men's match. Loved it. I don't know if I've had this much fun watching a wrestling event in a long time. Just a blast all around. I thought the weakest match of the night was the women's world championship match between Rhea and Zoe. I just didn't really buy Zoe as a legitimate contender. No offense to her, Rhea is just so over right now, and I don't know who they're going to have that can actually be a legitimate contender to Rhea. Maybe Becky at Mania, but we'll see. So let's go into where I was wrong, where I was right. I got all the matches correct except for the women's Wargames match. I thought that Team Damage Control would go over, but I guess they're going to start going down the angle of kind of kicking Bayley out. I don't know. We'll see. SmackDown is tonight. But I think Bayley's going to be on the out. And I think she's kind of a dark horse to win the Rumble and maybe challenge Io at Mania. I think that'd be a good storyline. Maybe turn her face, kind of that underdog that she was back when she was a face. So I think that could be a cool storyline. I had Gunther winning. That wasn't a surprise, but The Miz put up a good fight, and he is The Miz. He is a legitimate contender, so I enjoyed that. I love The Miz, but yeah, I knew he was going to go down eventually. I had Santos winning as well, except I had him winning over Carlito, but I'll take it. I still probably would have picked him over Dragon Lee. And then the men's match, I did have the babyface team winning. However, I did not expect CM Punk to return. I had it about 70% chance that he was not coming back, and I was wrong about that. I also thought maybe he'd have a match with Shinsuke, because Shinsuke was looking for that challenger. Turns out that was Cody. So we're going into that storyline. Just a lot of great things going on. It's going to be a long wait for the Rumble, but we got NXT Deadline to look forward to here in a couple of weeks. So a lot of fun things going on. Going to keep pumping out content. I enjoy the narrative style videos. I think they're doing better than me just rambling. So if you enjoy them, like, subscribe, comment. What was your favorite part of the night? I think this show is probably like an A- for me. One of the better shows of the year. I'll do my full rankings here soon. So again, like, subscribe, and have a good day. Thank you. Bye-bye.